And you are live. All right. Let's put this on the center so I can see myself. Oops. There. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I apologize. I couldn't be here last Monday, but here we are today. We have the second part. The second part, the other side of the coin, sons and daughters. So the journey from her to understanding. Um, In part two, we're concentrating on sons and daughters. This intention is to help parents to gain better understanding of their children's personality and behavior, while also helping sons and daughters to understand themselves a little bit better. So before we continue, my name is Lily Ackerman. I'm a transformational wellness master coach, and I help people to find their dream life. That's what I do. So let's begin with this, okay? Imagine two children entering life under very different emotional circumstances. It is like two children getting lost in the jungle. One has a compass and the other doesn't. Let's expand on that a little bit more. Children who are born into a healthy environment, surrounded by love, support, encouragement, and a place where their needs are met, are the one holding the compass. They often begin life with life direction, confidence, and emotional stability. As a result, they are more likely to build a healthy relationships and succeed in their careers or whatever goal they choose to pursue. The end. Meanwhile, children who are born into unhealthy environment, surrounded by confusion, rejection, and or emotional pain, you guess right. Those are the ones without a compass. Babies who cry for hours because they are hungry, um, attention, or loving arms to comfort them, but eventually fall asleep from exhaustion after waiting and crying. Begin life under very different circumstances. These children are more likely to develop unhealthy habits, beliefs, and unhealthy relationships patterns. The journey um, in their life may be exhausting as they wander through the wilderness for years, even decades, before discovering who they are. I was one of them. So I can tell you my long journey being lost. So they face more obstacles, feeling disoriented and trapped in cycles they do not understand. Yet, even in the middle of that confusion, miracles happen. Healing happens, direction can still be found. I am a living proof of that. Um, Now, let's talk about fathers. It was Father's Day yesterday. Um, Congratulations to all the fathers. Okay, cheers to them. So, what do they represent in our well being? Let's start with what happened when they are absent in our lives: self worth and identity, internalized blame. Because we naturally internalize our parents' behavior, we tend to blame ourselves for um, the father's distance, leading to an internalized unhealthy belief: I am not good enough. Blaming yourself could also be a self protection because in our childhood, we cannot see anything wrong with our parents. Because if we do, that our parents are collapsing, what hope is for us? We're toast. So it's better to blame ourselves. Um, when my daughter's father left the house, my oldest daughter, um, she came running and crying. And she said, Mom, I promise I'm going to behave so my daddy can come back. It was very painful to hear those words for the little one. It was very painful that as a young age, she was blaming herself for our decision. I remember I just knelt down to be at her level and hold her. And I said, honey, this is not your fault. So, how many children continue until adulthood with that story on their background? So, the next one is low self esteem. A lack of paternal affirmation can cause chronic self doubt, leaving an individual feeling inadequate well adulthood. In relationships, fear of abandonment, emotional distance can foster an intense, lingering fear that loved ones will eventually leave. That haunted me in my relationships, one after the other. So, repetition of patterns. People often model their own communication styles after their parents. This can result in adults who are either emotionally unavailable themselves or choose unavailable partners. Number three, emotional and behavioral struggles. This is a tricky one, but at the end, result is the same: unavailable for love. Emotional instability without a role model for healthy emotional expression, individuals may struggle to identity, regulate, and process their own feelings, leading to pent up to anger or anxiety. Acting out. Teens or youth adults might engage in attention seeking or risky behaviors to compensate for the lack of emotional connection. The last one, mental health, anxiety, and depression. The ongoing stress of an emotional void creates a high risk of long term mental health challenges, including chronic anxiety, low moods, and depressive symptoms. So, if you grew up without a father in your life, please understand that there is nothing wrong with you. Some of the struggles you experience may be connected to the absence of a father figure in your life. Um, so raise your hand, whoever went or going through these life issues. I'm raising my okay. I had them all. So, but listen, what I just told you is not to pinpoint anyone. If your father was present, absent, loving, or has many flaws, he is part of your story. Understanding the story can help you to understand yourself and your behavior, your attitude. So you may not able to change your past, but definitely you can choose um, what to do with your life today. After all, is your life, the only life that you have. So next week we will talking about solutions. So don't miss that. So let's see how the father figure present um, in our lives. Was the impact that they make in our lives? Emotional resilience. Fathers plays a pivotal role in fostering emotional stability and resilience through their guidance, support, and encouragement. Fathers install a sense of confidence and self assurance in us. Research suggests that children with involved fathers exhibit greater emotional intelligence and are better equipped to navigate life challenges. But again, doesn't matter. Next week, stay tuned because you're going to have the answer for everything, okay? And how to restore the absence of fathers in your life. So, cognitive development. Fathers often bring a different perspective and approach to parenting, enriching a child's learning experience and broadening their horizons. Relationships. Fathers help foster the development of healthy social skills relationships. Identity. Fathers plays a crucial role in shaping their children's self-esteem and sense of identity. The healthy relationship with a father can install a deep understanding of worth and belonging. Behavioral regulation. That's our last one. I know that many moms don't want to hear this, but here we go. Fathers contribute to their children's behavioral regulation by setting clear boundaries, expectations, and consequences. Fathers teach their value lessons in responsibility, accountability, and self control. In general, children with involved fathers are likely to exhibit positive behavior and make responsible choices. So, moms, if you are listening, for the well being of your children, give them a space when they are spending time with their children and try to understand their point of view when they are disciplining the children. I have something to say on the defense of the fathers. Fathers face many disadvantages compared to mothers, especially in divorce cases. History teaches us that courts have often been perceived as favoring mothers in custody cases. Although laws and practices have changed significantly over time, we're still facing that problem. So, why is that? Why does the system immediately assume that children will better with their mothers? A recent and heartbreaking case involved a 5 years old boy. By the recommendation of the social worker, custody favored the mother without um, a true investigation into the mother's life. A video recorded the moment authorities came to take the boy. He was crying and begging to stay with his dad, but no one listened. Soon after, the boy went to live with the mom, um, and soon after, he was rushed to the hospital and died. He had been physical abused by, by both parents, his mother and the stepfather. School teachers and neighbors testified that they often saw him walking alone, 5 years old, in a very not safe environment. He was walking alone from home to school, and he was constantly hungry and dirty. Dirty clothes, dirty shoes, like he was living alone. They showed at the end, they showed the picture and the way he was living. It was depressed to see that. It was a heartbroken. The mother already had, from the previous relationship, her husband took her to custody and proved that she was not a good mother. So the ex-husband took custody of their daughter. So, but no investigation. So I witnessed something similar when my husband went through a long custody battle with his ex-wife because she wanted full custody. She was not feeling willing to share 60-50. She wanted 100%. And why she wanted? Because she wanted to move to Europe. She got involved with somebody from Europe and she wanted to go. So the father, my husband, he was in the middle. So for what motives we remove the fathers so easily, or want to remove the fathers when they are very important part of the children's well-being? So it was a very painful custody battle. Most of the years of my stepson's life, he went through a lot of emotional um, battle since he was 3 years and 3 months until almost 13. So it's very sad to see uh, that the majority of cases we just want to remove the person because our emotions came on the way. The worst part is the system believe what the mothers come with. It's proven that it was a false evidence with social workers just because the mother said they believe. Like that's the final word to say. So thanks God that He is the judge above all judges and He hates injustice. So after years fighting in court, I witnessed miracle after miracle, and finally, and eventually, everything was uncovered through solid evidence that my husband's ex-wife was presenting in the previous court. Um, so there's much more to the story, but the final chapter ended with the judge telling Bruno's mother, "I don't want to see you in court ever again." Um, so again, thanks God he restored Bruno's relationship with his dad, and today they love each other very much and share a strong bond. Um, Another short story. While helping the homeless, I met a man who looked extremely sad, and I asked him, "Why are you homeless?" He lowered his head and started crying right away. He told me, "I cannot see my son." His mother took him far away because the court gave her full custody, and she doesn't allow me to see my son. I miss him so much. His pain was incredible deep. I offered to pray for him and his situation, and he said yes. I continue praying for him. So his depression uh, took him to end in the streets. So we destroy so many lives when we take the wrong approach. So unfortunately, many unhealthy emotions again, arises during divorce and separation. Pride, hatred, resentment, and the desire of revenge often becomes more important than the well-being of a child. When that happens, children lose something precious: love, guidance, and the presence of their father. My personal experience: my mother took us far away from our fathers because she believed our lives will be better without him. He had a bad temper and drinking problems. So that's what I heard. So when I met my father, he already quit drinking. But when you're a child and see your friends with a parent, something inside in your heart constantly is stirring. It is almost impossible not to think about your father. I remember one summer, I told all my friends that I was going to spend the summer with my father. Instead, I stayed hidden in my house the entire summer. When I returned to school, I was able to tell stories to my friends about my father. I have to admit, it felt great, even though it was a complete lie. At home, it was practically forbidden to ask questions about my dad. The word father didn't exist in my world, but God knows how many times I wish to say it. Years later, at my mother's memorial service, I saw him leaning against the wall with a very serious expression. He looked deep in thought, perhaps reflecting on his life with my mother. As I watched him, I thought came to me, that man is my father, and the only person standing between him and me is now gone. I hesitate for a moment. It isn't to approach someone that you know is your father, but who is also a complete stranger. So with a little bit of courage, I walked towards him, and soon we were engaged in a conversation. At the end, invited him to come to my house. In our first conversation, I set a boundary. I said, I don't know what happened between you and my mom, and I think it's best if we don't talk about it. I know everyone has their own story, and I don't want to be caught in the middle. Right or wrong, she raised me and provide everything I needed. So if it's okay with you, can we start from scratch? He accepted. As we spent time together, I paid close attention to him. It was almost as if I were studying him. It sounds silly, but I wanted to memorize everything about him. I noticed that many of his gestures and habits were the same as mine. The more I learned about him, the more I understood about myself. He was a storyteller. He likes photography. He likes long walks, and his imagination was wild. That was me. For years, my family joked I wasn't part of the family because I was so different from my siblings, and because another more reasons. But I believe it. Then I met my father. That encounter revealed the missing part of my personality and answers questions I didn't even know I had. Unfortunately, not too long after, I was moved to my forever destination, California. So back then, long distance calls cost a fortune. We would write letters occasionally, and whenever I traveled to Mexico, I made sure to see him. I have to confess that at that time, spiritually and emotionally speaking, I was not in the right place. Deep down, I was sad and angry at him, perhaps for not making an attempt to look for me. If I want to be brutally honest, my pride didn't allow him to get emotional closer to me. Deep down, it was fear to lose him again. So if I don't give him access to my heart and he leaves, it won't hurt. Simple, right? No. But again, I was too far from God. So I let the flesh dictate my emotions. So if that's you and your father is alive, don't let your emotions get in the way. And if you're a mom, please listen. Because we mothers often place the center of our children when this shouldn't be the case. Because both parts are the perfect combination for the children's well-being. My invitation is to let your kids to form their own opinion about their fathers. Meaning, many times because we are trying to protect them, we remove the father figure from them. One thing for sure is that we must be grateful for our lives. Because without our parents, we wouldn't be here, right? So, cheers to the Father. And one last story. When my my father's daughter left, I intentionally create moments and meetings between them, to the point that when I came to United States, he needed to stay in the hotel, um, but it was far away from us. So he came for 3 days, and just um, the taxi or the bus or whatever, and then it was little time to spend with my daughters. So I told him, uh, the next time you stay in our place, so you can get up and take them to school, wait for them after school. And I remember when we started doing that, I wasn't there. I just removed myself and gave that time for them with my daughters. When Herman, Bruno started coming every other weekend, I did the same thing. I told him, when Bruno is here, um, pretend that I don't exist, because he was coming every other weekend out of the 30 days. It's about 4 days, 6 days sometimes. So I said, just talk to him, play with him, and I was doing my own. I don't regret that. So sometimes we have to put our pride on the side, and we lose our husbands, but we don't have the rights to take the fathers out of our children. So thank you very much. My name is Lily Ackerman. Again, I'm a transformational wellness master coach. Next Monday, we're talking about solutions. We're talking about how can you restore those years that we thought are lost years. How can you use the experience and the mistakes that your parents did with you, and so many amazing things. We're closing with the golden seal of life restoration. Okay, see you next Monday, um, 10 o'clock. Okay, bye.